What's going on, everybody? David here from Bluckers Videos and Toys, and today we are going to be checking out the Jurassic World Ultimate Damage Scorpios Rex by Mattel. Now this has 3 levels of intensifying damage, which is shown on the packaging. And so this is already pre-cut. I took everything out, the instructions, all that stuff, so that way it can be a lot easier to get to. So it won't take a long time to get everything out. But this is a great looking figure. Very happy to have it. But it does have its issues with me, so let's go ahead and get to it. Alright, so this is your basic style packaging for the Ultimate Damage figures. So there's only like 3 of these in this particular line as far as the larger scale figures. I know that there are smaller ones like the Dilophosaurus, Raptor, and so forth. I don't have any of those. I'm not interested in getting those. I am interested in getting some of the larger figures, which we'll get into here in a little bit once we go over the packaging. But yeah, so this is for this size figure. This is pretty much the standard packaging, and so on the card back, it's you've got pretty much the T-Rex skull, which is red, and then as far as behind the skull, it's more of a orangish, yellowish, reddish coloration that's kind of mixed in a little bit. And then, of course, you get the 3 levels of intensifying damage logo there. And then you got the light and sound logos to let you know that it does light up and it makes sound. And then you have the arrow pointing down to the head, which represents that. So it just lets you know that it you got to press down the head to make certain sounds. And then also here it lets you know you got to press the side to make the sounds as well, to get the levels of intensifying damage as it says. And then of course here you got the claw marks that are coming across, which are red and everything. So this is pretty cool. So I do like this style of packaging, so it's just really cool. And then at the bottom, it's your basic red, nothing on the sides or anything except for that flap right there. And then you got that little insert where it says there's the logo there that lets you know that there's paperwork back there as far as inserts goes. Then there at the bottom you have the Jurassic World logo, which says Jurassic World Scorpios Rex, and it's in that charcoal grayish font. And then you got the claw marks right there, the red, and then you got Mattel logo there, Ultimate Damage logo there, and then there's the battery logo there, symbol, let you know that it has batteries, ages 4 and up. That's me. And then here at the bottom of the packaging, it just basically gives you all the copyright information and all that good stuff. So then on the side of the packaging, there is the Jurassic World logo there. And then on this side, it's basically the same thing, Jurassic World logo right there. And then here on the back of the packaging, it's got the Jurassic World logo there on top in that charcoal grayish font, and with a little bit of white highlight in it. And then you got the Scorpios Rex Ultimate Damage logo, and then you got the photo of the figure itself, and then it says press and attack, and of course it gives you the little hand symbols and the arrow pointing down to let you know how to operate the figure itself. And then here it just tells you it's got 3 levels of intensifying damage, and so each time you press it, it gets worse and worse and worse. And then over here, here's the scan to unlock for all the fact step information. And so here are the other 2 figures that are in this line. It's large figures. So basically, I still need the Spinosaurus. I'm not sure if I'm going to get the Indoraptor. I kind of want the Dino Trackers version that comes with the headgear and all that. I like that one better, in my opinion. But I still haven't gotten that one. I think that ship might have sailed. Unless if I find it at a bargain store or something. But yeah, I think I might skip on that. But I do need that Spino. I've got to have all the Spinos. And then here at the bottom, pretty much more copyright information, all that stuff. let you know that it's contained one figure and all that, and the Mattel logo right there. So, with that being said, that is the packaging. So let's go ahead and get to the paperwork and the figure itself. All right, we have the figure in hand, and there is the paperwork that comes with. So basically, this thick piece of paper is just basically battery information in all kinds of languages. So don't need to worry about that. And then here's just a slip that just tells you about the product, and this is basically for products sold in the U.S. And then here at the back, it's just basically for product that's sold in Canada. And then here comes the fun stuff. Here is the instructions. So basically, here's your paperwork. It's like a page. Basically, just folds out, really. And yeah, so here's the instructions. Jurassic World. Then ages 4 and up. That's me. And then just tells you the contents. You know, that's the got the scan to unlock the fax app information. Then here it says part 1 to play, and there's 1A, and then it just lets you know how to use the dinosaur head to activate the sounds. And then 1AB, it just basically tells you how to activate the intensifying damage sounds, which we'll get to that here in a little bit. And then here is part 2, the battery placement, and just basically tells you how to take off the battery cover and replace the batteries, and what size batteries to use, and how to discard it and stuff. So, yes sir. Alright, with the paperwork aside and done with, so here is the figure itself. Alright, so, I'm not gonna lie, as much as I love the sculpt of the figure, I just don't like how they presented it. At least with the other two, it was a little bit more presentable and easy to handle and things like that. What I mean by that is that this is very limited articulation, and I'm pretty sure it might be due because of the action feature that it has, especially with the legs. I don't like how it's crouched down like that. The arms, can't really do anything with the arms. You know, there's only so much range of motion or movement you can do, you know. But luckily for me, I'm not a big articulated guy, so I guess this is more up my alley. But as far as how it presented itself, I think they could have did a little bit better. But then again, we'll get into all that as to why I believe they put it in this position. But overall, as a figure itself, with the limited articulation and all that, it looks great, especially the head sculpt. I love that head sculpt. I think it's more accurate to what it is in the how it is in the cartoon Camp Cretaceous. It might be a little off, may not be 100% accurate, but I think the as far as the snout and stuff, I think it needs to be a little bit more, how do I say, not rounder, but a little bit more flatter, if that makes any sense. But we'll do into the comparisons, stuff like that here in a little bit with the other ones that I have in the collection. So, I've got to be very careful because every time I try to handle this thing, it wants to growl at me and scream at me and stuff like that, because I'm always hitting that button. So I got to be careful with that, because we'll get to that button here in a little bit. But before we start off anything else, let's go ahead and give you all the scan code. So if anyone needs this, there you go. Alright, so as far as the figure itself, like I said, it's a great sculpt. I do like how they sculpted it out. You know, it's just basically this charcoal body with a little bit of airbrushing here, there, in the neck and the chest area. So everything, like the head is a separate piece, and so this is basically one big piece of body right here. A big piece of body. What is that? The tail's attached to that, and then I like how they had the little quills here on the elbows and stuff, and especially on the head, because they didn't have that on the other ones. You got the quills at the tail and stuff. So, but overall, yeah, the sculpt is great. You know, you got the little, I guess you could say shell. I wouldn't say shell, but you know, just the way the design is, it looks like it's got armor plating on the back. You know, and then you got all the osteoderms. You know, all the little pebbling and all that stuff here on the side of the figure itself, and a little bit more presentable here on this side because you got the action feature on the other side. So all the osteoderms here on the legs, and then you got the skin folds here around the tail and the back there, and then you got the deep muscle structures here on the hind legs, especially here in the calf area, and the shoulders, the bicep region. So, and then the claw marks are not painted. It looks like they're painted, but I don't think they are. It could be painted. I'm not sure. I can't really tell. Maybe it's just my lighting. But if it is painted, it looks like it's painted. But if it is, kudos to them. You know, one of the rarities that you get actual toe claws and fingernail paints. So, kudos to Mattel for doing that. Then, of course, you know, there's the speaker box, and then there's the battery cover and everything. So, but yeah, you got a little bit of airbrush in there, here on the chest area and stuff. And so, let's go ahead and take a look at this head sculpt. So, let's go ahead and try to brighten that up a little bit. There we go. So, it looks great. Got the eye right there, the reddish eye, the little pupil up there, but the pupil's like way at the top. And I don't know how it is on this side. So yeah, it's pretty much the same way where the pupil is, kind of on more at the top a little bit. So it looks like it's like looking up. And then you got the quills here on the back, you know, the soft pliable plastic, because I think that's just a separate piece, I believe. Actually, no, it's not. I think. Looks like they just glued those on there because the head is hard plastic, so they had to have glued this on there. Of course, you know the quills here on the elbows. That's a totally separate piece right there. You can tell. But as far as the details on the face goes, I mean, it looks great. It's wonderful. And then the teeth itself. The teeth are soft pliable. I like how they do the teeth now instead of just mold it in with the head sculpt and then just paint it, because a lot of times it does not look good. So I like the fact that they went the extra mile to redo the teeth so it looks more presentable. So I really do like that. So this is a little bit more accurate head sculpt in my opinion. You know, even though I think it might need to be a little bit more flatter here in the nose area. But this is one of the better ones, in my opinion. So I do like how they have the airbrush here on the top jaw right there. You know, extra paint. So jaw's a separate piece and everything. So it looks good. You know, overall the figure itself looks great. But here's where I have my issues. So it's just in a crouching position. And let's go ahead and, there we go. It's in the crouching position. So there's not a whole lot of room to really do anything. So, of course, you know that there's no articulation in the back of the tail. So you just got plain forward and backwards. And you do got hinges at the ankle where you can move in and out. But that's it. So there's not really a whole lot you can do with this thing, you know. And then as far as the arms go, arms are just up and down, and that's it. So it's just standard right there. So it's like a staction figure. So it would have been nice if you could have had a little bit of, at least a little rotation or articulated arms right there. But Again, this is a totally different figure with a totally different gimmick because we already have a articulated Scorpios Rex. So they're not going to give us another one unless if it's a Hammond collection. So hopefully they do that one justice, which I think they probably will if and when they do that. So, but yeah, so this is basically its neutral stance, mainly because of the action gimmick. So as far as the action gimmick goes, it stands very well. You know, even if you even have the arm out like this, so you can't really pose it any other way except for this crouching position. So that's it. And then you could probably have this arm up like this, like it's about to scratch you or whatever. But other than that, it's just basically standard. You know, it's not really much of anything. But I guess they had to make it up for it for the gimmick, because it's like either we give you articulation or we're just going to give you a crazy gimmick. But oh well, it is what it is. I do like the Scorpios Rex. It's one of my favorites. You know, even though a lot of people are not too keen on hybrids. You know, but I like them. You know, it's different. You know, but anyways, so the first action gimmick we're going to do the 3 levels of intensifying damage. So we'll go ahead and bring this in so you can get a closer look at it, and press the side. So you get that one little growl, and then you get that, and then you get the second growl. It's kind of like somewhat in between screaming and growling, and all that glows up a little bit. And then you get the main screech, and then all that glows. So basically, so it depends on how often you touch it. So if you touch it once, then it will all glow at the same time. And then if you touch it, if you wait a little while, you know, then you touch it again, then this part glows, and then eventually it expands, and then you press it again, half of the thing glows, and then it expands, and then you press it again, and then the whole thing glows, and then it just keeps on glowing. So pretty cool, you know, not a bad gimmick. So it's like you feel its pain. All right, so the next gimmick is you press down the head. So at first I was looking for a button. I was like, so where's the button at? And then I just realized it dawned on me, you had to press down the head. And this is like when I first saw it, you know, in stores, and I was looking at it. So I do like that. That's pretty cool. I just don't like the fact that I got to press the head just to get it to make sounds and then open its jaw up. But I do like how it looks with its jaw open, the teeth and everything. So that looks pretty crazy. All right, so let's go ahead and do some comparisons. All right, so here is the first comparison, one with the larger one that we got when it first released. So the big one is pretty much from my understanding, the reason why it looks like this was because this was like originally what the concept art was on this particular figure and what it would originally look like if they went with it. So, which is pretty cool. So you can tell the scale difference and everything. And then here, you got one that actually has got the actual quills and everything like that, as far as that goes with this. So, 2 different figures, 2 different sizes, coloration, looks. So, which is really cool. So as you can tell, this is a lot lower than this. But as far as scale goes, it's pretty reasonable. It's not as big, even if they did raise it up a little bit, kind of like how they made it as tall. If they made it as tall as this one, then it probably would be almost. It'd just be like a hair smaller. It wouldn't be that much of a size difference, really. It's just a hair, you know. But yeah. So this is pretty much two different gimmicks here compared to this one. But I would have rather have seen this about as tall as that, you know, in my opinion. But I could, like I said, I see what they went for with this crouching position, you know. You don't want to essentially make the same figure. All right, let's go ahead and compare it with the other one. So here is the other one with the smaller version with all the articulation. So this is more of the articulated figure here. So my joints in the legs are starting to get really loose. So it's not going to hold its stance like it should. You know, if it's going to regular standing position like this, it just tends to want to kind of lean forward and everything. But yeah, so this one is a really good figure. The articulation and everything. So and you pretty much pose it however you want, you know. The only thing that's kind of really limited as far as articulation goes for this particular one is the knees. So you can't really straighten it all the way out, you know. So it's just going to have that knee bend like that for a while. Which I kind of would have rather had that on this one. So I think that would have been pretty cool if they was able to have at least the legs have this articulation here for this one, for like this one, or yeah, have the articulated legs for this one. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, so like I said, the joints on this one are pretty loose, so it's not gonna really hold its position like I would like to, which is fine. It is what it is. But overall, this is actually a really good figure, you know. It's really not that bad of a figure, you know. Especially for me being not being a articulated guy, you know. So I used to tend to like to have this guy like standing up, doing his little screeching sound. That's pretty much how I can really hold it. But anyways, let's go ahead and move that over and move this guy there. So, but yeah, he's a little bit smaller. He's just a hair smaller than this one. So this one's a little bit bigger than that one. However you want to look at it. All right. And then here is the human comparisons with Ben from the Camp Cretaceous line. Fairly oversized. It'd be just a hair smaller. Probably this one's probably the good perfect size for it, in my opinion. And there is all three of them together. And that concludes this review. So I hope you all enjoyed this review as much as I did filming it. And let me know in the comments below what you think of this particular figure. Do you like the gimmick? Do you like the limited articulation? What is it about that would gravitate you to want to buy this? Like I said, the only reason why I mainly got it is because it's more accurate to the cartoon. But I like the figure, you know. I like it a lot. I just don't like how, you know, the way it stands is. They could have did something a little bit better, but hey, it is what it is. You know, they all can't be winners. And also, which out of the three do you like showed in this Scorpios Rex collection? And let me know. And don't forget, where's the wisdom? Buy what you love and not what you like, because if you buy what you like, you always end up getting rid of it. And I will catch y'all later.